Hey everyone, welcome back to Movie Talk. So, I was scrolling through some movie news looking at stuff, and I came across this article. So, I was reading World of Real, and apparently Furiosa, the movie that just came out like a week ago, they're already planning the VOD release. They're already putting it online. And you know when they're putting it online? June 25th. And it boggles my mind that the more I realize it, the more I realize that the reason Hollywood is dying is because of Hollywood. Like, I look at the reason why Furiosa failed, and I really do think one of the biggest factors in it is that Hollywood is training audiences that, like, if you don't have to go to the movies anymore because you can just watch it in what, like 2 months after it's already out. Like, once it plays in theaters, you barely gotta wait any time before it's out. You can watch it at your home. It just frustrates me because you see just constantly stories about one box office bomb after another, and you also see in those stories that these movies are very quickly going on streaming services, and that like within a month you can just rent it on Amazon or something. And like, it just doesn't make sense that, like, ever since COVID happened, that movies are just turning into this thing to where, like, you don't need to go to the theaters to see these anymore. Because it used to be the movies would be in theaters for months, and you'd have to wait so long before you could end up seeing them in theaters. And now the studios themselves are basically training audiences to know that if you don't really want to see this movie like right now, then you just gotta wait a month and you can just watch it at your home. It just hurts because I value the theatrical experience so much. Like, I really think that, like, there's nothing like going to see a movie in theaters versus at your home. I think back when Killers of the Flower Moon, back when the first trailer dropped, like, I remember watching it and thinking, it was a pretty good trailer and everything, but I remember I saw that trailer in IMAX for Oppenheimer when I seen Oppenheimer, and they played that trailer, and it was unlike anything I had ever experienced before. Like, it was truly like brought my excitement from like where it already was to like be like through the roof. And that's just the thing about movies, is like you can't experience them if you're just watching them on your phone. It's like, so there was another article about the CEO of Netflix. He was talking about how, like, there's no difference between watching movies in theaters versus on your phone, because he talked about how his son, he watched Lawrence of Arabia on his phone, and he was saying that, like, there's no difference. And like, I swear, like, that's basically what movie studios are trying to teach the audiences. Like, not even just Netflix, where like the whole thing is a streaming service. They're like studios like Warner Brothers, Disney, Universal, all these studios, they're teaching audiences. They're like, you don't have to bother watching it in theaters because you can just watch it on our streaming service. It's not going to be a problem at all. You can just wait however long you don't even have to wait that long. You just gotta sit there for a few weeks and just wait till there's finally out on the streaming service. The worst part about this, like, out of everything, is like all these great movies that are failing. Because these are like the movies that are making no money at the box office. Like, these are great movies, but audiences just don't care enough. They can just say, like, I'm just gonna wait till it shows up on Netflix or something. Like, that's just what the Hollywood and just the movie industry has come to this point. And it makes me so angry because I remember 2019, right before everything started to close down. I remember seeing, like, just how great the movie industry was doing. Like, that year, those $9 billion movies. And I remember thinking, like, that was when I was still, like, decently young. Just wild to think 2019 was 5 years ago. But, oh man, I'm not even that old, but I'm already trying to make myself feel like I'm old. But the point is, Hollywood is changing what it's about. They're changing from the movie theater experience and focusing far too much on streaming services. Because if they just finally stop, like, slow down on the streaming services, that they just let the movie run its course in theaters, and they just started doing that more often. Just like if a movie didn't like have like beyond like spectacular like insane box office numbers, they're like, if they don't have that, then just let it wait for a little while longer, just let it run its course through the box office, and then when it's time, you can finally put it on streaming. Because there's even proof. If you look at the numbers, a movie, if it's dumped straight on streaming, like right after its the theatrical run, which would be like, let's say like the movie was dropped like 4 weeks after it first came out in theaters, and then you look at those numbers compared to say something like Oppenheimer, where like it was in theaters for like 3 months, I'd say, before it finally came out on Amazon or anything, and you just see like the numbers were insane. Like, they were so much better. Granted, Oppenheimer was a giant movie to begin with, but if you just look at movies in general, like seeing how they do it, like there's really only one time I can think of when like a movie was released on streaming and theaters on the same day and actually did good. The Five Nights at Freddy's, like that did pretty good because like they came out on Peacock and theaters the same day, and it still did a good amount of money. But name another movie that had good numbers. Like there isn't. Like every time, like it's constantly being proven that theatrical releases and keeping them in theaters for a while is the way to go. But studios don't like that. They just want to focus on the streaming service to try to get as much money as they can out of that, instead of focusing on what the biggest moneymaker is making good movies to put in the theaters. Like, okay, do you ever think about why Netflix movies are so bad? Like, if you look, like, a lot of the movies suck. Like, they just make one bad movie after another. And you wanna know why? Because why should they make a good movie? Like, you can keep feeding people terrible movies, like, constantly in an internal cycle, and people will just keep on eating it up and pay for the service. But if you look, because you don't want to know why Netflix doesn't try to, like, really focus on making good movies? Because there's no box office numbers. If you make a bad movie and release it in theaters, nobody's going to go watch it, and so you lose money at the box office. But if you make a great movie and you put it in the box office, all of a sudden people are going to go see it and watch it, and you're going to make money from the box office. Netflix isn't like that. Netflix is just, they make and produce the movie, they dump it on streaming, and they just got to keep subscribers subscribe to their streaming service or try to get new subscribers out from it. That's the whole thing. That's the reason why Netflix doesn't care, is because they don't need to focus on making great movies as compared to something like in the theaters. It's because they just gotta keep getting movies constantly out on the streaming service. Like, they always need to have new things always happening. And so that's the whole model. They just want to get new movies out for people to keep on having a reason to be subscribed to those streaming services. Now, okay, don't get me wrong. I still like streaming services. I'm not anti-streaming services. But I think what studios should focus on is TV shows, not movies, when they want to make stuff for streaming. Because TV shows, I mean, they last longer, they make better numbers for viewing hours, it looks better for the company overall because of it, and it takes longer for people to watch through the entire show, and so they have the subscription for longer, and especially if you're making a lot of good TV shows. But for movies, like, the only reason you'd ever even consider dropping it on a streaming service is because if it's just a bad movie. But at that point, like, honestly, in this day and age, I mean, Warner Brothers proved it itself. If it's a bad movie, just use it as a tax write-off. Like, it's terrible, but like, in thinking in the mindset of a studio, there's no reason to put out movies on streaming services when you can just put them on theaters, get things back to where they were. And I mean, it's going to start out slow because people are still going to be used to having movies out like really quickly. But Hollywood needs to realize they're the problem. They are causing their own downfall, and they need to start fixing it sooner rather than later. Because if you keep on having things the way they go, then we're never going to get another movie like Furiosa. If we're going to have another big budget movie, like, it's just going to be Marvel movies at that point. Like, Marvel movies are going to be the only ones to get giant budgets. And we just need to focus on, like, trying to fix, like, repair all the damages that COVID caused the industry. And I think, for the most part, it's all, like, fixed. Like, it's basically about to normal, as much normal as you can be. It's just, they still have the 45-day release window for streaming. And that's the ultimate downfall of all these movies. That's the reason why so many films are failing nowadays. Look, I know it's the real popular thing to just blame it on politics and everything. And I'm not going to get into any of that stuff. But, like, I'm just saying that, like, political messages in movies, no matter what you think of that stuff, like, it's not the reason that movies are failing. Like, I guess for a certain part, like, middle America isn't really going to as many of these movies as normal, but honestly, like, outside of Top Gun, I mean, middle America hasn't been in a big part of the film industry. It's mostly East and West Coast. But I wouldn't blame politics as being the reason movies aren't doing as good as they used to. Ultimately, I think when it comes down to it, Hollywood is dying because of their own 45-day release model. I really think that is the reason why Hollywood isn't succeeding like it could be. That's my rant done and over with. I mean, tell me what you think. I mean, like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like these. Just having a conversation about the film industry and just things that are going on right now. And I mean, comment down below what you think of all this situation. Like, what's your input? Like, what's your opinion on it? Because I'd love to hear more from you guys. But that's all I have to say. So, it's movie talk. See ya.